Muka Muka. Precious ones, the entire text will be released in one go. Watch carefully and cherish. The exciting story begins immediately. I have walked with Liu Ryan from having nothing to becoming wealthy. Liu Ryan's ex-boyfriend told me, I will take Liu Ryan back from you step by step. No way! During human evolution. Did he hide somewhere secretly? How could he say such beastly words? As a result, goodness gracious, I thought the history of human evolution only missed him. I didn't expect there to be another one. 7 days before the wedding, when I was trying on my wedding suit, I stumbled upon Liu Ryan's ex-boyfriend's post. Liu Ryan and he were holding hands, with a caption saying still in love. 3 minutes later, I saw Liu Ryan's response. I want to continue this entanglement with you. The official announcement of their reunion was quite romantic. If I weren't Liu Ryan's husband, a girl at the bridal shop saw me staring at my phone. After a long silence, she asked, Mr. G, is there something you are dissatisfied with? I looked up at the reflection in the mirror of myself in a pure white wedding suit. The suit was custom-made in a style I liked. Originally, I was very satisfied. That's why I took a photo to send to Liu Ryan. Who knew a slip of the hand would lead to such absurdity? I forced a smile at her. Something came up. I went to the corridor to call Liu Ryan. She hung up on me. Immediately after, she sent me a message. In a meeting. Right, she went on a business trip the day before yesterday. Said it was for a very important project. She had to be there in person. Now it seems. It is indeed quite important. A multi-billion-dollar bedroom project. Liu Ryan called me back. An hour later, on the other end of the line, her tone was gentle. Boda, is there something you need? From her tone, it was clear. She didn't yet know that her affair with her ex-boyfriend had already been exposed. I have known Liu Ryan for 7 years. From when I was 21 to 28, I stood by her from having nothing to now becoming the owner of 2 companies. Not quite a wealthy family, but still a notable figure in Sakang. I first met Liu Ryan when I was job hunting after graduation. She is 3 years older than me and had already been working for 5 years, starting her own business. Her company was newly established, short on people, especially lacking someone like me who was just entering society. A naive fool who easily buys into dreams. With just one promise, she made me, even after 7 years, drink until I vomit, rush to complete projects day and night. And even when other companies offered me a higher salary to poach me, I never thought about leaving. I went from being an intern to becoming the company's president. As for why I fell in love with her, it started with a one-night stand 2 years ago. At a drinking party, we both drank too much. When we woke up, she said, Ba Song, let's be together. I don't remember what I felt back then. Probably joy. After all, I had already had a crush on her for 3 years by then. Falling for her was a very easy thing. So, we had once witnessed the dawn of Sakang together while rushing to meet a project deadline. Together, we evaded drinking with clients under the vast starry sky that enveloped the earth. We also endured cold stares and ridicule, insults and obstacles. There was one time when we were trying to secure a project. We drank with clients until the early morning hours. On our way back, we passed by the city square of Sakang. She stopped the car, pulled me to lie down in the middle of the square. With the smell of alcohol, she said to me, Boda, if one day I move the company building here, in this upscale area with an average price of 10 million per unit, I laughed at her. Just wash up and sleep, okay? We are all quite tired. In dreams, anything is possible. But she suddenly turned her head and looked at me seriously, saying, I'll also buy you a large flat here to reward you for your loyalty to me. When she looked at me, her eyes reflected the entire starry sky, and her smile was almost blinding. Her tone was so serious. I thought I truly fell in love with her. At that very moment, the night we got together was also the celebration of the branch office establishment. By that time, she had already moved the company building to the city square and awarded me a large flat there in the city square. The company grew from only 5 people to hundreds. At the celebration banquet, in front of everyone, she held my hand and said, "If it weren't for Boder, the company wouldn't be what it is today, and neither would I. Come, this toast is for Boder." Her words were somewhat exaggerated, but they were also true. Those years, in the moments when she couldn't hold on, I was the one who stayed with her through it all. Even the establishment of the branch office was entirely my doing. Fundraising, finding partners, including site selection, it was all handled by me. After the celebration banquet, she insisted on coming home with me to discuss the company's development for the next 20 years. The result was that we ended up talking in bed. When I woke up, she said when we got together, I was apprehensive. I hesitated. She noticed my hesitation and said, "Boder, I've liked you for a long time, and I can never find another boy like you who can stay with me for so long. We've been together for 2 years." I know she had an ex-boyfriend, Gu Wuyan, the same age as me. He and Liu Ryan were college sweethearts. He was Liu Ryan's junior, each other's first love. They dated for 3 years, until he graduated from university and left Sakang. Liu Ryan was unwilling to leave with him, so they broke up amicably. Speaking of it, the money Liu Ryan initially used to start her company was actually intended to buy a marital home with Gu Wuyan. This was something she mentioned when we were drunk, lying under the starry sky. She said, "If I had married Gu Wuyan back then, I would probably be living the life of a 9-to-5 office worker now." There was a hint of regret in her tone, but also candor. So, I never really cared about his existence. Even when, more than a year ago, Gu Wuyan suddenly returned to Sakang and secretly followed me on social media, I just casually followed him back. I never mentioned this to Liu Ryan. I thought Liu Ryan and I were heading in the same direction. And such an old love. For adults. Who remembers it? But now it seems I've been slapped in the face. I'm someone who believes in seeing to believe. On the phone, I didn't confront Liu Ryan. After hanging up, I even sent her the photo in my wedding suit. Liu Ryan replied, "My Boda, you're so handsome." I accepted her compliment and booked the next available flight to the city where Liu Ryan was on a business trip. After getting off the plane, I checked social media again and saw Gu Wuyan's update. He planned to check in at a popular restaurant. Coincidentally, I knew that place. I went there with Liu Ryan when we first got together. A couple's restaurant. I rushed there by taxi, and just in time witnessed Liu Ryan handing a bouquet of red roses prepared by the restaurant to Gu Wuyan. They were sitting at the most window-side table. I didn't need to get out of the car. One glance was enough. Liu Ryan wore a blue long dress, Gu Wuyan in a light blue casual outfit. Even the blind could see they were wearing couples' outfits. Liu Ryan once said she hated couple outfits the most. Childish. Now it seems it's not that she thought it was childish. It's just that I wasn't the person she wanted to be childish with. I got out of the car, leaned against a crook tree by the roadside and called Liu Ryan. Otherwise, I might not be able to stand steadily. Liu Ryan glanced at her phone and eventually hung up again, replying to me, pushing back the meeting. At this moment, it's hard to describe how I felt. Angry, heartbroken, and even a bit of despair. I tried hard to look up at the sky, just to hold back the tears that were about to fall. It took me a while to calm my emotions. I looked down at the wedding ring Liu Ryan had given me not long ago, took it off, and casually threw it into the nearby trash can. Then took a photo of her dining with Gu Wuyan and sent it to her. Let's talk about the divorce after you finish your meal. About 3 minutes later, Liu Ryan finally looked at her phone. Because in those 3 minutes, Gu Wuyan insisted on taking a picture with her. During those 3 minutes, they changed 8 different poses. 360 degrees, leaving no angle unseen, exposing their affair. Yes, Liu Ryan and I had already registered our marriage last month. The wedding was just 7 days away. After seeing the message, Liu Ryan anxiously turned her head to look out the window at me, hurriedly got up, and rushed out, running towards me. Gu Wuyan, not knowing what was happening, saw her heading out, then turned his head and saw me. A faint smile appeared on his face, and he followed Liu Ryan out. Are you sure you want to make things so awkward for me? Liu Ryan, all these years in the workplace, whether it's cold sarcasm or blatant attacks, I have experienced it all, and could always smile and accept it, handling it all with ease. I consider myself to have an excellent temperament and manners, but seeing my wife dressed in couple's outfits with her lover right in front of me, I still had to muster all my strength to suppress the urge to roar. Liu Ryan finally noticed that Gu Wuyan had followed her out. She turned around. Gu Wuyan, you should leave first. But Gu Wuyan didn't leave. Instead, he tried to provoke me. Boda, Liu Ryan was just talking about you with me. Don't get it wrong. Liu Ryan and I just happened to meet here. I'd rather this was a misunderstanding. But when you walked out, you still plucked a petal from a red rose, held it in your hand as if declaring your sovereignty to me. Are you that afraid I won't see the mess between you two? I briefly closed my eyes, not wanting to talk to this morally bankrupt mistress. I feared I'd lower my own moral standards. I looked at Liu Ryan. I'm giving you 1 minute to make this unfortunate creature disappear from my sight. But Gu Wuyan continued to provoke me. Boda, how can you be like this? You have no kindness at all. You didn't even listen to an explanation before making assumptions about us. Kindness, my ass. I sneered in anger. Indeed, I'm no match for someone like you, who must have hidden away during human evolution. I said, get lost. Don't keep chirping around here. Gu Wuyan's face turned even redder than the sky above me, and he finally left. After Gu Wuyan left, Liu Ryan and I re-entered the couple's restaurant in front. I was hungry and didn't want to continue looking for another place to eat. The accounts with a cheating woman can be settled slowly, but I have to take care of my own stomach. Over the years, for the sake of the company, I drank too much, and it took a toll on my stomach. I can't afford to be hungry. Once I'm hungry, the pain kicks in. Liu Ryan originally wanted to find another place to eat, probably because she also felt uncomfortable. But I didn't agree. This restaurant gives a red rose with the meal. Quite a coincidence. The waiter who handed the red rose to Liu Ryan earlier was the same waiter who handed it to her now. I could clearly see he was stunned. His face clearly read, "Is this even possible?" I looked at the red rose Liu Ryan was holding, shoved a mouthful of food into my mouth, and asked this thing, "Is it still useful for the two of us now?" Liu Ryan said, "Boda." I interrupted her. "Don't speak to me about these disgusting things while I'm eating. I might throw up. Please have some sympathy for the stomach I've almost ruined by bowing and scraping for the company all these years." A hint of guilt flashed across Liu Ryan's face. We ate the meal for 2 hours. During those 2 hours, my mind was racing, thinking about the divorce matters. I'm not seriously ill, nor have I lost my mind. Forgive once, and there will be a next time. While there are still no children, it's best to make a clean break. Our property entanglements are tied to the company, and the company has nothing to do with me. I am a shareholder in the branch company. When we registered our marriage, we didn't notarize the property, but the new marriage law won't allow me to claim half of Liu Ryan's property just because of a useless marriage certificate. But I didn't expect, while I was thinking about the divorce issues, that something unexpected would happen. Liu Ryan was thinking that the wedding in 7 days shouldn't be affected. She said, Boda, I don't want to divorce you. I was stunned and asked, not getting a divorce? Are the three of us going to walk into the wedding in 7 days? You holding my hand with your left and Gu Wuyin's with your right? I paused. I truly feel that having some sense of moral baseline makes me incompatible with you people who have none. After a long silence, I asked, when did you two start again? Before we registered the marriage, or after? After a while, Liu Ryan said, we didn't start over. Didn't start over? Then what are you two now? Adding some plants to our life? Bringing in some fresh air? Liu Ryan's temper isn't very good. After I said this, she was a bit angry, but she ultimately held it in and said, Boda, you are angry right now. Let's calm down for 2 days before talking about this. Okay, I agreed. Calming down for 2 days might be a good idea. Right now, I am indeed angry. I'm afraid I might forget something that belongs to me in my anger and misjudge something in Liu Ryan's favor. On the way to the hotel, Liu Ryan kept trying to argue with me, but probably because there was no way to argue, she gave up after a few attempts and finally fell silent. At the hotel, she still tried to enter the same room with me. I looked at her. Liu Ryan, you've known me for 7 years. Do you think I would use something someone else has used? Her temper, which had been subdued after getting caught cheating, finally exploded at this moment. Ji Boda, can you watch your words a little? I laughed. In this, I'm really no match for Gu Wuyan. He doesn't need to do anything to help you. Just smiles gently at you, waves a hand, and you follow him like a dog, even willing to abandon your moral baseline for him. As for me, you know, over the years, in order to fight for the company's interests, I've said some pretty sharp words. Liu Ryan said, I'm sorry. Boda. I slammed the door shut in her face. As soon as the door closed, the tears I had been holding back for hours also started to fall. Images of the past 7 years we walked together flashed through my mind like fleeting shadows. When we first met, she said, Boda, we will definitely become the most compatible partners. When we drank too much together, she said, Boda, someday we won't have to drink with others anymore. When we first got together, she said, Boda, the longest lasting confession is companionship. Let's be together for life. When we registered our marriage, she said, Boda, please take care of me for the rest of our lives. And now, she has destroyed my 7 years of expectations. Only now do I feel a suffocating pain in my chest. This pain connects with every nerve in my body, as if trying to peel my skin and pull my tendons, draining all my strength. And just when I was seething with anger, Gu Wuyan sent me a private message on social media. He said, Liu Ryan never wanted to make our relationship public. That post, do you know under what circumstances I coaxed her into posting it? The thought that Liu Ryan had been rolling in bed with Gu Wuyan, even after we registered our marriage, made my stomach churn with acid reflux. Disgust. Eventually, the nausea made me vomit, and I ended up in the hospital. My stomach condition flared up again. Just one trip to Cydia, and I ended up in the hospital. Quite an accomplishment, but I didn't expect it could get even worse. After I was admitted to the hospital, Liu Ryan, seemingly feeling guilty, stayed with me the entire time, even though I didn't want her to. She put her phone on silent, but it kept lighting up continuously. It must have been Gu Wuyan texting her from another phone. After all, ever since I arrived in Cydia, Liu Ryan stopped answering his calls and didn't go to see him. To show her loyalty to me, She deleted and blocked all of Gu Wuyan's contact information. Therefore, on the third day in the hospital, I received another desperate message from Gu Wuyan. He said, "Ji Boda, I'm not trying to take Liu Ryan from you. What I want is just to fulfill the promise we made in our youth to travel together before your wedding. Why did you have to show up?" He said, "If I really wanted to get back together with Liu Ryan, do you think you would still have a chance?" Seeing that I ignored him, half an hour later, he sent another message. "Ji Boda, originally I didn't intend to take Liu Ryan from you, but starting now, I will make. You watch me. How I will take Liu Ryan from your hands step by step." He wasn't just talking. A few minutes later, Liu Ryan's phone lit up again. She happened to lower her head and just glanced at the screen. Her face visibly turned pale. These past few days, she had been staying by my side, refusing to go anywhere. But suddenly she stood up. I glanced at her. She sat back down and said, "Boda, I have something urgent to deal with. I'll be back right away." "Okay." I asked knowingly, "If I say no, will you still go?" Liu Ryan said, "Sorry," but eventually she left. I discharged from the hospital as quickly as I could and returned to Sakang. In 3 days, I had completely thought it through. If someone can't stay, let them leave. If you can't hold on to the sand, you might as well let it scatter. As soon as I returned to Sakang, the branch partner, Ito Makoto, came to find me. It was about work. Yes, I had always been the one managing the branch. Thinking carefully, Liu Ryan's reconciling with Gu Wuyan was probably because I was managing the branch and stationed there, no longer appearing frequently by Liu Ryan's side. That this happened. But it doesn't matter anymore. The fact that they could get back together now only proves that they both wanted to reconcile. Even if I tied Liu Ryan to my waistband, they would still find a chance to get back together. After Ito Makoto finished discussing work with me, he casually said, "You truly are a workaholic. Your wedding is coming up. Aren't you going to prepare for it?" About me and Liu Ryan canceling the wedding, it hadn't been announced yet. But since it had to be canceled, I mentioned it in advance to Ito Makoto. "The wedding is canceled." Ito Makoto suddenly looked up. "What? You and Z Ryan after so many years? Don't tell me. You two are done? Years of companionship. So what? It still can't beat a first love waving their hand." I didn't want to show too much emotion in front of Ito Makoto. We are all partners. Showing too much emotion affects the development of the company. I said, "Just saved you some wedding money. Isn't that a good thing?" Ito Makoto seemed a bit at a loss. He's not good at comforting people. Having known him for over 4 years, I know this quite well. His classic line is, "Love brain slows down the speed of making money." If he were to comfort a heartbroken man, he might bluntly say, "Love brain? Isn't that a fucking deserved fate?" Seeing his somewhat helpless face, I added, "Don't just stand here and affect my work. If you have time to gossip, help the company talk to your dad about cooperating on the next project." After Ito Makoto left, I had a meal with my parents and casually told them, "The wedding is canceled." Asked them to notify all the relatives who received invitations. Both were furious. My dad rolled up his sleeves. He wanted to fly to City B right away and beat Liu Ryan to death. My mom burst into tears from anger. Fortunately, my parents genuinely love me. Even knowing that canceling the wedding might become a laughingstock among relatives, they still firmly stated, "This marriage must end." Liu Ryan returned to Sakang a day later. I slapped the divorce papers right in front of her. But even then, Liu Ryan still firmly insisted that she didn't want a divorce. She even tried to convince me to continue with the wedding. She said, "Boda, the day after tomorrow is the wedding. If we cancel it now, It would disgrace both families. My parents are getting old. I interrupted her. Liu Ryan. Face is a good thing. Don't treat it like your backside. I have packed all your belongings and mailed them back to your original villa. As of now, this house. I hope you never set foot in it again. I don't know how Liu Ryan explained things to her parents. That evening, her mother called me and tried to persuade me for quite a while. When she saw I was resolute, she said, "Boater." Although this was Liu Ryan's mistake, canceling the wedding at such a critical moment is really too willful of you. She continued, "If you divorce Liu Ryan now, can you find someone better than her? Everything you have now, including the house you live in, was given to you by Liu Ryan. Isn't that right?" I didn't want to argue with her, but if she's looking for a fight, she can't blame me for having a sharp tongue. I said, "Everything I have now was earned by my own efforts, and the company's current success is the result of the hard work Liu Ryan and I put in together. The branch company was practically built by me alone. So, don't come here trying to manipulate me." I didn't give her a chance to interrupt, and continued, "If you think cheating can be forgiven, and divorcing over cheating is just being willful, then I wish you the chance to one day live under the same roof with your husband's mistresses and their children, enjoying a 4-generation family reunion." She was so angry at my last words that she jumped up and started cursing, but I didn't bother listening. I caught her saying, "I didn't agree with your marriage from the start, and now you dare to bring such trouble to my family?" I hung up the phone and promptly blocked her number. I knew very well why she was against my marriage to Liu Ryan from the beginning. I couldn't always follow her whims, and often contradicted her when the branch was just established. She wanted to place her useless relatives in management positions within the branch. Liu Ryan couldn't refuse her directly, so she pushed me to do it. I rejected them flatly. So, when Liu Ryan and I were discussing marriage, she came to me alone and gave me an ultimatum, saying all future children must have the surname Liu. She arrogantly insisted that if they didn't, there would be no marriage. Every son-in-law bullied by his mother-in-law has a common problem. They lower their status from the very beginning. Even when others step on their heads, they still try to treat them like their own mother. So, to crush her intention of ever trying to manipulate me, I nipped it in the bud by responding with, "Read more books before you think you've stepped into the circle of noble women. Throw your face in first and leave the company after getting married to become a full-time house husband. Who knows if you'll end up in some messy situation after drinking at a work event, putting a green hat on her daughter?" I chuckled at her. "In the past, women only bound their feet. You've managed to bind your brain as well." She complained to Liu Ryan, saying I insulted her. I asked Liu Ryan in return, "Do you think I'm stupid enough to insult my future mother-in-law before marriage?" After hearing my question, Liu Ryan seemed to understand what had happened. So, after we registered the marriage, we lived in my large flat, and not with her mother. Not because Liu Ryan favored me, but simply because she didn't want to handle the conflict between her mother and me. Or rather, she knew very well that even 10 mothers wouldn't be enough for me to insult, and they couldn't control me. I thought I could have a decent divorce from Liu Ryan. After all, we're both adults. No need to tear each other apart. However, it seems I overestimated Liu Ryan. Or perhaps, all these years, I never really understood Liu Ryan. The day after I blocked her mother's number, she wanted me to leave with nothing, including giving up my shares in the branch company. She also expected me to give up the large flat in the city square, which was initially given to me as a reward for my performance. She wanted it all back. After she finished saying this, she added over the phone, "Boda, as long as you don't divorce, tomorrow's wedding can still proceed. We can renegotiate all of this. I knew why she didn't want to divorce me. Once we divorced, the company's stock would surely be affected. She might even lose control over the branch company. After all, I was the one who built the branch from scratch. Besides her initial investment, she didn't manage anything, and we were planning to establish a second branch, which I would also be leading. She didn't want to lose such a capable assistant. But for Liu Ryan to say something like this, was she not fully awake, or did she think I wasn't? She even tried to brainwash me. Boda. In this circle, so many people keep mistresses, or live separate lives even after marrying. Don't they still live well? I asked. So what you're saying is, I should lower my moral standards and keep it gigolo? She fell silent. After a long pause, she said, I will cut all ties with Gu Wuyan. Hey, double standard. I doubt she could cut all ties with Gu Wuyan. A few days ago, when she chose to leave me to be with Gu Wuyan, it was because he threatened to commit suicide. That suicide threat even became a masterpiece of his. The post on social media was so well crafted, so romantic. Without you, I will never again have the ability to love another. It truly confirmed the saying, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. But I blocked him immediately. Seeing too much might make me catch the same stupidity. Of course, the wedding didn't go as planned. Liu Ryan only announced publicly that it was postponed. She did not agree to a negotiated divorce. I directly hired a lawyer and filed for divorce in court. Only after I filed did she start to panic completely. She lowered herself again and came to me. Boda. I was just confused for a moment. When Gu Wuyan approached me to reconcile, I had a bit too much to drink, and that's why this absurd thing happened. I ignored her. Desperation. She began showing up every few days, playing out hair-raising, melodramatic scenes below my apartment. But ironically, it seemed that after I blocked Gu Wuyan, he couldn't update me on his progress with Liu Ryan, so he had to find other ways to irritate me. Thus, one time, when I worked overtime late into the night, and Liu Ryan came to wait for me to get off work, I saw a hickey on her neck. She couldn't even stage a decent melodrama. What use could she have? I pointed at the hickey on her neck and asked, is this what you call cutting all ties with Gu Wuyan? I said, Liu Ryan, let's part on good terms. Stop coming to disgust me. You know, I never go back to what I've left behind. For the next half month, Liu Ryan finally quieted down, probably went to have a fight with Gu Wuyan. A few days later, I received a message from Gu Wuyan. Gee Boda, why don't you just die? I calmly mocked him in return. What? Threatening to die isn't working anymore? It seemed he hadn't pressured Liu Ryan enough to make her willing to divorce me, so he also reached out to me, asking to meet at the coffee shop downstairs from my office, saying he had something very important to discuss. I originally didn't want to see him. Then, thinking it over, I decided it wouldn't hurt to see the diversity of the species. So I agreed to meet him. He came to mess with my mind. Gu Wuyan said that he and Liu Ryan got back together because they were drunk, and that Liu Ryan threw herself at him. But the truth is, more than a year ago, the reason Gu Wuyan returned to Sakeng was because Liu Ryan brought him back. A year ago, Liu Ryan went on a business trip to his city, and it was she who reached out to him first. He asked me, do you know what Liu Ryan said when she came looking for me? He answered his own question. Liu Ryan said, not marrying you back then is the biggest regret of my life. If time could go back, I'd rather give up my current wealth just to be with you, to marry you. He laughed with great satisfaction. A game of money had somehow been twisted into a love story by him. I was already in a bad mood, and realizing Liu Ryan had been betraying me for over a year made it even worse. I couldn't stand his smug smile, so I asked him 3 questions in return. Has Liu Ryan married you now? If Liu Ryan truly loves you, why did she marry me? If what you to have is real love, why hasn't Liu Ryan agreed to divorce me yet? His smile faded away. I answered my own questions. You want her money. She wants the fleeting thrill of what she didn't get back then. Or perhaps the excitement of something unattainable, a sordid affair that even a dog wouldn't take an interest in, and yet you managed to bark it out as love. Even a dog would spit at that. Gu Wuyan, stung by my words, became somewhat hysterical. Boda, why can't you just let Liu Ryan go? I glanced at him. It's rare to see a mistress like you be so self-righteous. I've seen a lot in life. Stop provoking me, or else I'll make sure you're utterly disgraced. Thinking about it, it still wasn't enough to quell my anger, so I decided to hit him where it hurt. And also, right now, it's Liu Ryan who, after weighing the pros and cons, realizes you're of no damn use, and will only drag her down. So she doesn't want to continue with you. She's the one coming to pester me, not the other way around. Understand? If you really were of any use, why don't you just hurry up and settle things with Liu Ryan and get her to divorce me? Because every day we're not divorced is another day of disgust for me. Gu Wuyan's face turned deathly pale. Hey, a worthless person who lives off a woman. But to get a quicker divorce from Liu Ryan, I'm willing to offer him a shortcut. I said, instead of wasting time coming here to be humiliated, why not think about how to please your future mother-in-law? After finishing with Gu Wuyan, I happened to run into E2 Makoto at the door. Not sure how long he had been listening. His face was full of complicated expressions. He said, you can put up with this? Just go up there and slap him twice. Make him face reality. I rolled my eyes at E2 Makoto. Don't want to end up in jail. Going to jail is fine, but if it blows up, it will affect the company's reputation. E2 Makoto nodded thoughtfully. True. The company does have my share in it. Can't encourage you to be so reckless. E2 Makoto insisted on dragging me along for lunch, really just for gossip. He even put on the airs of a company shareholder, saying, I think I have the right to know about this. You are a key decision maker for the company. If things between you and Liu Ryan don't end well, I need to be prepared to mitigate the risks or withdraw my investment. He added, the reason I invested initially was entirely because you are a workaholic, obsessed with gold. My dad even warned me at the time not to be reckless and get deceived. He tried to talk me out of it. That's right. E2 Makoto is a second-generation rich kid, determined to make it on his own, without relying on his father's wealth. What he said was true. To get E2 Makoto to invest, I drank with him 3 times, and finally convinced him. For over a month, I hadn't told anyone about my situation with Liu Ryan and Gu Wuyan. Feeling a lot of pent-up frustration, I vented everything to E2 Makoto, even mentioning Liu Ryan's words about how many bosses in this circle keep mistresses. After hearing it all, E2 Makoto predictably said, being love-brained will kill you. What Liu Ryan did means she's not planning to act like a decent person anymore, right? Isn't it obvious? If Liu Ryan still wanted to act like a decent person, she would have let me go and divorced me already. She would never have tried to force me to compromise by threatening me with nonsense like stripping me of everything, especially knowing that we are on equal footing. Seeing I was feeling down, E2 Makoto added, don't let her manipulate you with Pua tactics. Send a message to the Duke of the Circle. Within this circle, there are scoundrels, but also good women because of the fallout between Liu Ryan and me. Even though neither of us has publicly spoken about it, the reason for the wedding's delay, the company couldn't avoid being affected. In just over a month, after the contracts with the 3 partners of the company expired, renewal negotiations didn't go through because those 3 collaborations were originally secured by me alone. They were concerned about potential changes in the company after our breakup. Business people are always shrewd. That's how it is. Liu Ryan came to me once more, and her opening was an accusation. Gee Boda, even if we are getting divorced, There's no need to mess with the company. The company was once your hard work too. Not to mention that I really didn't mess with the company. She seemed to forget that over a month ago, she hoped I would leave with nothing, and how the company's profit or loss has nothing to do with me anymore. I looked at her with the eyes of someone looking at a fool. Have you been with dogs for too long? That you've become assimilated? Barking at everyone you see? Liu Ryan has known me for 7 years. She knows me well enough. Seeing me scolding her so confidently, she realized I hadn't sabotaged her. And she said, "Fuda, can't afford it." After a long pause, a heap of words followed. Apologies, pleading. Her only purpose was to get me to step forward and renegotiate the renewal contracts for several partnerships. I once again slapped the divorce agreement in front of her. Sign this, and we'll finish the divorce. If you stop disgusting me, I might consider it. Liu Ryan probably knows my personality. I repay every slight. If we really got divorced, forget about helping her negotiate any deals. It would be good enough if I didn't start a new company myself to snatch her business away. So, she refused again. But I know, not long from now, she will come to me herself for a divorce. A month at most. Because I received another message from Gu Wuyan, still in a provocative tone. Ji Boda, you won't be smug for long. I will definitely make Liu Ryan divorce you. He is willing to grovel before Liu Ryan's mother, letting the old lady feel like an empress dowager. That already surpasses me, the sharp-tongued king, by 1,000-fold. Liu Ryan's mother is even happier, and is already on his side. Thank him. It might be considered a good deed he has done. Sure enough, in just half a month, Liu Ryan took the initiative to come to me to discuss the terms of the divorce. But she shamelessly still hopes I will leave with nothing. She said, "Boda, you are the one insisting on the divorce, unless you leave with nothing. Otherwise, I won't agree to the divorce. The only compensation I can offer is to let you keep the large flat in the city square that I gave you before." She even thought for my benefit, "You also want a clean break from me. If you don't give up your shares in the company, we will continue to be entangled. Isn't that right?" I stared at Liu Ryan, who was in front of me, coldly negotiating terms with me. At this moment, all the love I once had for her completely vanished without a trace. Indeed, I had never truly understood her. I looked at her again with the eyes of someone looking at a fool. "Before you came to find me, did you pass by the donkey shed and provoke a donkey?" Her face showed a restrained anger. "Ji Boda, I said I did not provoke a donkey. Why does your speech sound like your brain was just kicked by one?" She was about to explode in anger, but I took the initiative first. "Liu Ryan, from the moment I found out about your affair until now, I have not spoken a single bad word about you in front of the media. Nor have I made your affair public, right? Do you think if I wanted to drag this down to the end, embarrass everyone to the fullest, and expose your affair to the media, how many of the contracts I signed before would be affected?" I shouted angrily. "How thick-skinned are you? Having an affair and still daring to ask me to leave with nothing?" The more I spoke, the angrier I became. So I decided to throw down some harsh words. "Let's part on good terms. If you don't want a peaceful resolution, then we will go about it with torn faces. Tomorrow, I will have the media release a statement exposing your affair. And now, still wanting to force the husband who started from scratch together with you to leave with nothing, making it known to everyone. Since none of you want to save face anymore, I'll join you in this disgraceful act." Liu Ryan looked rather surprised. If not for the fact that divorce lawsuits take too long, and Liu Ryan kept dragging it out again and again, I wouldn't even want to see her. What a disgusting creature. Divorce truly reveals a person's character. After a long, torturous month of tug-of-war, the divorce finally went through. After we divorced, I still remained at the branch office, She was probably afraid that I might find a way to kick her out of the branch office, or do something that would be detrimental to her. So she made a major restructuring at the branch office, and even forcefully stuffed in the people I had previously refused from her mother, just to annoy me, to mess with my mindset, or maybe to keep an eye on me. Even after doing all this, she still wasn't reassured. She straightforwardly proposed to buy out my shares in the branch office. It just so happened that I wanted to sell them off as well. Not wanting to have any further entanglement with her was secondary. The main reason was that with the way she was running things, the company would soon be on a downhill path. If she wants to self-destruct, she can bear the consequences herself. I don't want to be dragged down with her. Moreover, Liu Ryan and I had been planning to establish a second branch office. Now, I want to do it on my own. So I took the opportunity to raise the price, asking for a price 3 times the market value. Liu Ryan, furious with my high asking price, bargained with me for several rounds. In the end, she gritted her teeth and accepted. What I did next was nothing special. I secretly found someone to analyze for Gu Wuyan that if I continued to have contact with Liu Ryan after the divorce due to company issues, he might end up like a mosquito bite, while I would stand in the position of the untouchable white moonlight. After all, it's what's lost and what can't be obtained that is always the most desirable. He himself is already a cautionary tale. Because of the company's matters, every time I met Liu Ryan, he would throw a fit. Once he even had a quarrel with Liu Ryan in the office, yelling at her, "If you really don't want to be entangled with Boda anymore, why can't you make a clean break with him? Are you planning to treat me like you treated Boda before? After marriage, still staying tangled up with Boda?" Liu Ryan snapped back at him, "I'm already married to you. Can't you stop making unreasonable scenes?" Gu Wuyan countered with justified reasoning. "But you did exactly that before, didn't you? TSK. No wonder he climbed up from being the third wheel. His vigilance is much higher than mine." In the end, Liu Ryan had no choice but to accept my high price demand. Thus, by the 3rd month after the divorce, I took the money and withdrew from the branch office. After withdrawing from the branch office to prepare for my own company, I was so busy that I had no time to pay attention to what was happening between Liu Ryan and Gu Wuyan. But I didn't expect that. In the 3rd month after I withdrew from the branch office, Ito-chan also withdrew his shares from the branch office. He came to me, saying, "I heard you're planning to go on your own. Count me in." I asked, "Why are you choosing not to make money and also withdrawing?" "The branch office has been managed decently by me for the past 2 years. At least the money the shareholders invested before was all earned back within 2 years. Isn't this the perfect time to continue enjoying the dividends?" Ito chuckled. "If we don't pull out now, when the company starts losing money, we'll lose along with it." Ito-chan said, "Do you know why I don't partner up with love-struck fools or those with the same complex to start a company? Because if you start a company with those kinds of people, it'll eventually turn into a family business filled with a bunch of useless relatives who just add to the trouble." Well, I thought Liu Ryan was merely trying to annoy me, forcing me to sell my shares and abandon the company. Turns out she really stuffed a bunch of useless, troublesome relatives into the company. It seems she truly has lost her mind. She even brought in Gu Wuyan's relatives, and even drove away several managers that I had originally brought up. In that case, they truly are my great benefactors. I had a bit of a moral bottom line, feeling regretful that I couldn't take the managers I had trained with me, but they just delivered them to me instead. 2 months later, my company officially started operating. On the first night of the company's official opening, several shareholders and managers had dinner together. Not only did Ito-chan insist on buying shares himself, but he also brought along 3 of his wealthy second-generation friends. During the meal, he nudged his 3 friends, clinked his wine glass with my teacup, and said, Boda. Look, these are all good women I picked for you. A blonde. A younger sister type. Close at hand, easy to get. Got it? The corner of my mouth twitched. I rolled my eyes at him. He continued, no need to thank me. If you really want to thank me, just work hard. Just make sure I can keep earning more money while lying at home. I said, oh, I really thank you for such a money-grubbing miser like you, taking time out to worrying about my love life. He replied quite naturally, of course, you're my money tree now. And remember, as long as you have money, girlfriends are still in kindergarten. He patted my shoulder again. Stay away from trashy mistresses, and life will be half as beautiful. Come on, let's toast a beautiful life ahead. Itu Makoto was right. Stay away from trashy mistresses, and life will be half as beautiful. For example, 2 years later, I happily walked out of a successful negotiation in the city square, and happened to see Gu Wuyan and Liu Ryan arguing unhappily. I love a good drama. If it weren't for the fact that buying sunflower seeds would make me miss it, I would have gone to buy 2 bags and watched the show while snacking. I stopped to listen for a while and roughly figured out the whole story. After Gu Wuyan's relative entered the company, they used their authority to embezzle funds, and the amount was quite large. Originally, Liu Ryan didn't know about it, because that relative planned to cover up their embezzlement with the next project's funds. But the next project fell through, and someone else snatched it away. The embezzled money couldn't be covered, so the crime was exposed. Liu Ryan chased after the missing funds, but they had already been gambled away and lost by Gu Wuyan's relative. So, Liu Ryan sued Gu Wuyan's relative, and now Gu Wuyan's relative has already been put in jail, and that relative is actually Gu Wuyan's blood relation, his own uncle. Otherwise, Gu Wuyan wouldn't have come looking for Liu Ryan in public to curse her out. When it comes to being ruthless, no one can outdo Liu Ryan. So now, Gu Wuyan is yelling at Liu Ryan, calling her heartless, and saying she has no compassion. Liu Ryan responded, Gu Wuyan, I'm giving you face, aren't I? Back when you schemed to the fullest, even deceiving me, and tricking my mother into thinking you wanted to marry me. Why didn't you say I was heartless and had no compassion then? Since I'm so heartless and have no compassion, then let's get a divorce, and you can get as far away as possible. Liu Ryan said these harsh words, but Gu Wuyan didn't dare to retort. Of course, he had worked hard to push me out and take the position of a wealthy son-in-law. If he divorced easily, who would cover his high expenses? Liu Ryan, who once tried to make me leave with nothing, wouldn't be merciful to him either. He doesn't have the confidence I once had. I turned to Itu Makoto, who came with me for the project negotiation. Who was the one who snatched the project? I should send them a gift. Today we were negotiating with Itu Makoto's father, with him leading. His father would be more agreeable seeing him there, so I brought him along. Itu Makoto replied, wasn't it you? The deal where Wong personally came to find you 2 months ago. These past 2 years, because many of Liu Ryan's company's past collaborations were negotiated by me, I decided to go solo to get back at Liu Ryan for betraying me and for forcing me out of the company. I've taken quite a few of her clients. Plus, Liu Ryan has changed many of the managers I originally trained. So, after many of the previous cooperation contracts expired, my managers were able to poach them. There were too many. I can't remember them all. It was a bit awkward for me. Alright, today I'll go buy myself a gift. Itu Makoto took the opportunity to tease me. Remember to get me something too. I was planning to go out with my future girlfriend today, but you dragged me back to work. There should be compensation, right? I chuckled. I helped you avoid a family-arranged blind date that you didn't want to attend, and now you're using it to guilt-trip me? Look how crafty you are. Life never stops at a single frame. It's a continuous series. If you pay attention, just a month later, I caught a cold, and when I went to the hospital, I saw another scene of Gu Wuyan and Liu Ryan's mother arguing. Liu Ryan had previously accused Gu Wuyan of scheming and tricking her and her mother, which turned out to be true. More than a year ago, Liu's mom, when scolding people, is no less fierce than Liu Ryan. She picked the harshest words she could and shouted, You bring bad luck. If it weren't for you, how would my daughter have divorced G. Boater and married a criminal's nephew like you? Have your family return all the money your uncle embezzled, or else you'll see what happens. But Gu Wuyan is not one to be easily defeated. He fired back accurately, saying, If you didn't want to be the Empress Dowager, would you have so readily agreed to Liu Ryan divorcing Boater and marrying me? You just couldn't win an argument against Boater. Listen to me, thank you all. After 3 sentences, Liu's mother simply used her hands. With a slap, she hit Gu Wuyan across the face. The force was so strong that 5 finger marks immediately appeared on Gu Wuyan's face, and she yanked Gu Wuyan's hair with the other hand. You shameless wretch, how dare you talk back to me? Watch me beat you to death today. I felt a wave of physiological scalp tingling. So naturally, I took out my phone, took a picture, then turned around and called the police. My assistant is still my little cutie from before. She resigned from Liu Ryan's branch office and followed me again. She knows very well the love and hate between Liu Ryan and me. With a look of admiration, she asked, Mr. G, at such a satisfying spectacle, while venting your anger, you actually called the police. I said, no need to thank me. Just call me Lei Feng. The assistant replied, I should thank you for ruining the fun. I just took out my sunflower seeds. And you interrupted me. The police station was diagonally across from the hospital. In less than 5 minutes, the officers arrived and took both of them away. After they were taken away, the assistant sighed. Good thing you broke up with Liu Ryan back then. Otherwise, the one getting beaten today wouldn't be me. Liu's mother dared to attack Gu Wuyan because from the very beginning, Gu Wuyan was trying to please her, giving her a sense of superiority. The second reason is that Gu Wuyan doesn't have the confidence to divorce Liu Ryan, to completely fall out with Liu's mother. Seeing Liu's mother even raised her hand against him, but he still didn't dare to fight back, it's quite telling. The next day, a gossip reporter in Sioux City, who was worried about having no scoop, published this story. With pictures, of course. The images were so high definition that you could see exactly how many strands of Gu Wuyan's hair Liu's mother had pulled out, courtesy of me. Thus, the incident of the mother-in-law beating the son-in-law into the police station became widely known. I had told him before, don't step into the circle of wealthy women before you even have your face ready. He refused to listen to me, making such a public spectacle of himself. As soon as this gossip came out, some enthusiastic media friends dug up the old rumors about Gu Wuyan knowing he was a third wheel, and even forcing me to step aside and release them together to ride the wave of the story. The whole internet was cursing Gu Wuyan, saying he deserved it. Both Gu Wuyan and Liu Ryan's reputations were ruined together. After cursing Gu Wuyan and Liu Ryan, some well-meaning netizens even sent me a virtual salute. Congratulations, Mr. G, for jumping out of that pit. Thank you all. I never wanted you to laugh at me. Yet, over 2 years later, you used a roundabout way to bring the joke back to me. As they say, when it rains, it pours. 2 more months passed. When Liu Ryan's house was in chaos, problems also arose in the company. The branch office had been cooking the books, evading taxes, and was reported. An investigation was launched. Ever since I knew Liu Ryan had brought in the managers I previously trained, replaced them with her mother and Gu Wuyan's relatives, I already knew she was digging her own grave this time. Her branch office was bound to start going downhill, and I occasionally snatched a few of her deals too. But I didn't expect things to go wrong this quickly. When Ito Chung heard the news, he patted his chest and said, "Good thing I had the foresight to pull out." From the moment she replaced the company's head of finance with her mother's niece, I knew her mother wasn't planning anything good. I gave him a half-hearted compliment. "You truly are a genius." Ito Chung returned the favor with equal sincerity. "Same to you." But neither of us mentioned the matter of who reported them, pretending it had nothing to do with us. After this incident, Liu Ryan's branch office collapsed at lightning speed, and the main company was also implicated, losing countless orders. I managed to steal a few more of her clients and made a huge profit, even though Liu Ryan tried to salvage the situation by cleaning out all of her mother's and Gu Wuyan's relatives from the company and donating 5 million to impoverished areas to save face. It was all in vain. The entire internet mocked her for putting on a show. Some keyboard warriors even asked directly, "Is this from the tax evasion money?" Liu Ryan's company also began to decline. I suddenly remembered many years ago, when I first accompanied Liu Ryan in starting her business, the company also went through a crisis. The cash flow was a problem, and Liu Ryan was ready to give up, thinking of finding a regular job and just calling it quits. I was the one who accompanied her, asking for help everywhere. During that time, we were either asking for help or on our way to ask for help. I stayed by her side, enduring the looks from others. After that tough time passed, she said to me, "TME, it's fortunate to have you. In the future, if I have a bowl of porridge, I'll never let you go hungry." But later, when she became successful, she not only forgot what she had promised, but even tried to swallow what originally belonged to me. Some people can only share hardship, but not joy. Liu Ryan is one of those people. It's okay. It's quite fine. She has already shared joy with Gu Wuyan. Now it's time for them to share some hardship, to deepen their bond. Didn't Liu Ryan once tell Gu Wuyan that she would rather give up her current wealth than not be with him and marry him? Although her company is starting to decline now, she is slowly fulfilling the promise she made to Gu Wuyan back then. Admirable. She's quite a person after all. A promise made must be kept. I even thought, if the two of them came to ask for my help together, then considering their unbreakable bond, I might reluctantly agree to cut down on competing with Liu's business in the future. But it seems Gu Wuyan has no intention of sharing hardship with Liu Ryan. In less than half a year, the two of them were fighting for a divorce. Gu Wuyan went around telling people he couldn't go on because of a wicked mother-in-law. The real reason is Liu Ryan's company is on the brink of collapse, and Gu Wuyan doesn't want to leave with nothing, while also sharing Liu Ryan's debts. And just during their divorce drama, Gu Wuyan ditched Liu Ryan and climbed up to a richer, older woman than Liu Ryan. I looked at the freshly baked gossip, a bit bewildered. This, I could only sigh and say, green is a cycle. It does make sense. I always said it was a money game between them, yet they insisted on packaging it as love. Gu Wuyan initially set his sights on Liu Ryan's money, since it was for money. Now, while he's still young, and his looks are still intact, choosing someone wealthier than Liu Ryan is completely logical. No fault in that. I hope Liu Ryan is okay, but unfortunately, things didn't go as hoped. Liu Ryan wasn't okay. 3 months after Gu Wuyan dumped her, her company no longer sustained itself and had to declare bankruptcy. At this point, I had to admire Liu Ryan. Even after Gu Wuyan ditched her, she still endured without divorcing him. Because after they got married, they bought 2 houses in their joint name. Divorce would mean she had to give up one of them. So, after the bankruptcy liquidation, the nearly 50 million debt she carried included a share for Gu Wuyan, and that wealthy older woman immediately dumped Gu Wuyan, not wanting to be a fool to help pay his debts. I looked at the news. and sent them both a distant message. Karma, mistress. Starved to death. It is said. In the end, Liu Ryan had to sell her City Square house, along with the 2 villas they bought, under their joint names as a couple, and a few luxury cars under both of their names. The debt was repaid. She was reduced to her original state, back to when she first started her business. Not exactly the same, but there was no difference at all. No, wait, there was a difference. Now, she had elderly parents above her and a young child below, and a husband who had left her, and she was already middle-aged. Who knows if she still had the courage she had when she first started her business. To rise from the ashes, with unyielding determination. I no longer cared. Her failure was not of my doing. If she hadn't put her mother and those morally questionable and incredibly mediocre relatives of Gu Wuyan into management, even if I snatched a few deals from her, she still wouldn't have collapsed. I thought I would never see Liu Ryan again in my life. But fate had other plans. When Makoto Ito got married, I attended his wedding and unexpectedly met Liu Ryan. Liu Ryan was working as a junior manager at the hotel where Makoto Ito held his wedding. It seems she no longer has the courage she had when she first started her business. I don't know how others feel when they meet their ex-wife, but when I saw Liu Ryan, even dressed in haute couture, still unable to hide her exhaustion, I felt no ripples in my heart at all. It was like seeing a stranger. Neither love nor hate. Liu Ryan looked at me for a long time, then stepped forward. She said, "Boda, in the beginning, I'm sorry." I smiled at her. No need to apologize. Back then, I was petty. I didn't even give you my blessings. Now, I make it up to you. May you and Gu Wuyan have a long-lasting relationship, together until old age. Liu Ryan's face turned a little pale. Her head seemed to have a slight green hue too. But now it seems she has gotten what she wanted. I added, "Now you have finally made up for the 9-to-5 worker's life you missed out on, because you didn't marry Gu Wuyan back then. No more regrets. Leaving no more room for regret."